Welcome to Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins.
Thanks for watching this clip of our interview with Allison Hooper.
For the full episode, find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Links in the description below. What is it about Vermont and the cows grazing in that green state that makes... is that what makes the creme fraiche and the butter so amazing? When I asked Jennifer Sussman, who at the Chef's Warehouse is our guru on all things butter and dairy and cheese, I ask her this often.
Yeah.
I say, Jen, what is the best butter in the world? Because a lot of people drop these French names. She, every time I have ever asked that question over the last 15 years, says the best butter in the world, not in the U.S., in the world, is Vermont Butter and Creamery. And she said, I will do a blind taste test against any butter from Normandy or Brittany or anywhere in the world, and that butter, I guarantee, will win the cutting.
It's very special.
It is very special.
Thank
it
you.
speaks to the success of the brand and the product. But what is it about the cream there? Why is it so good? Is it...
We haven't even talked about butter. So
I'm jumping right ahead.
I know,
the creme fraiche too.
Yeah, how did the butter happen?
Well, you know what? I think it would be a little presumptuous to say that in Vermont, our cream is better. In Wisconsin, they say their milk is better. In California, they say their milk is better. It's not. I think that what's unique about Vermont and is sort of becoming more and more scarce in the dairy industry is I'm sitting at a hill farm right now that used to be dairy. And when the bulk tanks came in, the cows went out, and then they did beef. And these animals would graze on grass because it's so steep. Harvesting forages and making hay is really difficult, and it becomes increasingly difficult with climate change because we get so much rain now in the spring. That it's very unpredictable to be able to dry these forages to make really good, high quality hay. But I also think that our farms are relatively small. A large farm in Vermont, we've probably got 2 farms in Vermont that might be milking 10,000 cows, and they own multiple farms. But generally, the conventional dairy farms are milking 500-600 cows, and then you drop way down to 150 cows. And then there are real small farms that are organic or are making farmstead cheese or shipping milk to a cheesemaker because they want, they might be making an Alpine style cheese and they need to have the animals on grass, not fed corn silage. So our industry has become much more specialized just because of our geography. And of course, we're very close to these major markets. So we were able to kind of, educate, if you will, a population of consumers around New York and Boston, and not so much in Montreal because we don't really ship a lot of dairy to Montreal. But that's been an important part of ours, it's our terroir, if you will,
Absolutely. So you have these 2 products. You have the Chev and the creme fraiche.
Creme fraiche.
What was the next steps in, really creating your, I'm going to call it empire, but, your business?
Well, for years we sold to food service distributors. We really didn't have the resources and the dairy to be able to put things in retail packages and then ship them into distribution into major markets. 9/11 changed that for us because, as you remember, all those restaurants shut down in New York and in a lot of other parts of the country. Things just kind of went silent for a while, and we thought, oh boy, here we go. We're in the retail business. And so we started to do more retail. And, we were at a point where we had better control over our product. Had much more precision over the predictability of the product. I mean, for chefs, it has to be predictable every single time. And I think that we traded very heavily on that. Even though it's an artisanal product, you had to guarantee a chef that when they put the creme fraiche in their sauce, or they put the mascarpone in their tiramisu, it wasn't going to break. It wasn't going to have a problem. So we really prided ourselves on that, and it carried through to the retail side. And we started making some other products. We started getting into more added value goat cheeses, the little ripened geotrichum rinded cheeses, because, as you know, every region had its own goat cheese producers. Why would a chef in California, or a retailer in California for that matter, buy fresh goat cheese from Vermont? They didn't, there's so much there. And so we realized that we needed to come up with a distinctive product that others were not making, which enabled us to get into some of these markets. And so that was when we went back to the little rinded Croton, the Seltzer style cheeses, and the Picodon style cheeses that I made in France, and really went deep into that technology and sort of made a name for ourselves with those. So
yeah, when I think about your story, John and I in the fall we went to California, and we met with Cypress Grove and Laura Chanel, Marin French, kind of all, and I realized it's all these women.
I was about to bring this up.
Yeah, like what is it?
It's Lynn Giacomini.
Yes.
Allison Hooper, Mary Keene,
Laura Chanel.
Like, why is it all women who are the amazing
cheesemakers,
leaders in the cheese world in the U.S.? And is that international too?
Yeah.
I think in places like the UK and Australia and those places, France is a little more rigid about these things. They have a very strict approach to who gets to be a cheesemaker, and who, it's very hierarchical there. I think you could go even one step further and state that it was the American goat cheese makers, all women, who were at the forefront of the American artisanal industry. And why is that? Well, some of us had goats, and, Mary had goats, Laura had goats. And so it was a natural progression into making something out of this milk. There wasn't a ready market for the milk. And so the other thing, and why did we have goats? Well, goats were great animals for women. They're small. They're very gregarious. It's not easier management than cows, I will say that. But some of the best herds people around are women, cow and goat. And it's the little cheeses. It was a low barrier to entry, if you will. I mean, even though the education in the marketplace seemed impossible, because we were all starting at the same time and we were all in different regions, we had a trend. I mean, there was something going on. And we'd talk to each other on the phone. We'd have problems with our cheese, and we'd say, what happens when this, did you ever have this? Did you ever have that? And so there was a nice sort of collegiate group that we had, and we felt each other's pain. But it was, I don't think we really felt like we had anything to lose. None of us were trained in business. None of us were trained in cheesemaking and dairy. We just thought, we're going to do this thing.
I love it.
I feel like women are more like, maybe it's like more camaraderie. Like if I flip the script, and it's a bunch.
Men would have been trying to put each other out of business.
Correct. I'm making the best goat cheese. We're calling each other on the phone to troubleshoot. No, men don't do that.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It was a really positive, wonderful time, and it's amazing that it all happened kind of at the same time.
I mean, I feel like if not for these women, we wouldn't have these incredible cheeses.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders.
You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or your favorite specialty retailer.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders and Chef's Warehouse at Where Chefs Shop.